self-discovery and self-exploration in the direction of this magical perspective that I am about to share with you. So make sure you stay until the end of the video so that you can discover this amazing information that's coming from my unique life blueprint and everything I've experienced. So hello and welcome to Soul Freedom Harmony. Welcome to today's video, which is called Understanding Trauma, Your Life's Blueprint. So this idea to talk about this information came to me in collaboration with a version of ChatGPT, which is very new to me, and I'm so surprised that this happened as a result of that. So anyway, now that I have the inspiration for this video, let's talk about a really important comprehension that I have, a perspective and some information that I'd like to share with you that can potentially transform your outlook on trauma and help you to understand the very important link between trauma and how it shapes your individual potential. So there are going to be 4 main parts to this video: trauma, the seed, healing, the medicine, self-exploration, the discovery, and your potential, the magic. So first, let's talk about trauma, the seed. So when you come into this life, you have a specific set of parents, a specific environment, and a specific life experience that imprints onto you a specific trauma imprint or a trauma blueprint. And of course, with no other information about this, to just have things happen to you, of course that is not nice. Like, many people have a lot of trauma and don't really understand why, and there is like no positive awareness around the trauma. So trauma can be anything that happened to you, no matter how small it is. Anything such as you lost your parent in the supermarket for 5 minutes and you panicked and you didn't know what to do, and then you weren't able to communicate that to your parents because you were 5 and your parent didn't understand how you felt, and so you created this trauma inside, or this trauma was created inside of you. This is an example. Of course, trauma can also be obviously big things too, like assault, like cult trauma, like grooming. There are many types of trauma, and I'm sure that if you're watching this video, you probably have some awareness as to what the trauma is inside of you. Or if you don't, if you just think that you might have some trauma, that's also okay too. But I'm gonna make a bold claim here, and it's that I don't feel that there's a person on earth who doesn't have some degree of trauma. It's just like a spectrum, and some people may have more of it accumulated than others, but I do feel that we all have it, and that something can be trauma to you, even if it doesn't seem that way to somebody else. It's how you feel about it inside which decides if you feel traumatized by it or not. So this, your experience, the traumas that happened, your experiences are forming like a blueprint or a structure or a informational web of what happened to you and how you feel and what's stored in your body. Something like this. So what do we do? Which brings us on to section 2, healing. Because even though in this video I am talking about an important connection between trauma and your potential, and I'm gonna bring a positive light towards trauma, that is not something that I would recommend that you do without first emotional healing, because the last thing that a really traumatized person needs is, hey, look on the bright side, so we're not going to bypass emotional healing. So with all of this trauma that's collected inside of each one, what I recommend, what I invite and advise is emotional healing practices, spending time with yourself, doing things that support you to see what is in there, feel what is in there, hear what is in there, to get support with your trauma, So effective ways of emotional healing that I can suggest are emotional healing meditations. I do have an amazing emotional healing meditation, and I will link that in the description box if you would like to go deeper into your emotional healing. And another option for emotional healing is to go to a retreat and be supported in an environment where people can hold space for you while you process your trauma, and also maybe you use different tools like yoga, meditation, breath work, ancestral remedies, whatever you feel called to. So I will also leave a link so you can DM me on Instagram if you are interested in retreats, and we can see if the kinds of retreats that I am involved with can be supportive to you and if you want to experience something like that. And other ways that you can go through emotional healing is by journaling, is by meditating without listening to anything, just feeling, is by talking to people and receiving support, is by counseling, is by therapy, is by, there are many different avenues. So I invite emotional healing to be a place to start if you discover that you have trauma, before trying to figure out the positive spin or like what could be good about trauma. I first invite you to explore the actual trauma. So that brings me on to step number 3. Self-exploration and self-discovery. So maybe at this point in your life you've been working with healing, you feel like you've cried a lot of things out, you have become more in touch with your emotions, you're aware of some of the traumas that you have, maybe you feel a little bit lighter than you used to, you're beginning to feel some movement in your healing process. This is when I recommend a good moment to begin self-discovery and self-exploration in the direction of this magical perspective that I am about to share with you. So make sure you stay until the end of the video so that you can discover this amazing information that's coming from my unique life blueprint and everything I've experienced. So what can be the fruits of self-discovery when looking at trauma, and how can our specific trauma possibly contribute to our potential in a positive way? For this, the easiest way that I can explain it is to use examples. So I'll use myself as an example. Through some self-exploration, I've realized many things like, okay, what happened to me caused me to become like perfectionistic. And although that's caused me a lot of stress and been quite a pain in the ass at times, I can also see that being perfectionistic allows me to pay great attention to detail. And so what might this skill be useful in? This skill is useful in video editing, being able to spot that I have edited all of the transitions. It's good with like text. If a text is given to me that the language needs to be corrected, I can spot all of the mistakes and correct the language. So this is one way that this trauma has turned into a positive skill and flavors my potential. Another thing that happened to me is that I was quite isolated and spent a lot of time alone. So although that sucked and that was super painful, and it still is in some moments, all of this time alone gave me a greater understanding of myself and more time and awareness of the resources that I have inside and outside of me to be able to practice skills. So if I had not spent so much time alone, I wouldn't have learned to sing. So spending time alone has given me time to learn valuable skills that I can now enjoy and use to make music which reaches people deeply and supports them. And maybe even the space that I sing from reaches people who are in that emotional space. And I could not sing with that much emotion and healing if I had not been through my specific trauma. So there is nothing that I can do directly to tell you what your specific trauma is and what that translates to in terms of potential. But what I can do is give more examples of how to become more adept at spotting the link between the flavor of the trauma and how it's almost like the opposite potential comes from this seed. So for example, if somebody had low self-esteem, what this might create is a character that compensates for this, who's very bubbly and who's very confident and who makes other people laugh and things like this. And although that maybe makes that person feel lonely and was quite frustrating and traumatizing, after going through some healing and like working with the emotions, that doesn't mean that we need to get rid of this character that was created. This character could become an awesome comedian, like healer, like somebody like Kyle Cease, for example. I'm not saying he is a comedian healer, but what I'm saying is that his potential has this flavor of like spiritual speaker plus humor. And so this is a direct result of his trauma, like creating his potential. More examples. So let me try and think of one that didn't happen to me and didn't happen to someone I know, to try and cover as much ground as possible. So say you were extremely well regarded as a child. Imagine you're the golden child and you are popular and you are praised by mum and dad, and you internally feel this immense pressure to not let them down, and maybe you suppress parts of yourself in order to maintain that image. So this trauma would be like it's caused an inauthenticity. So what could be the opposite of this? So comprehending the pain that's caused when you have to deny and reject and not embody parts of yourself could inspire you to become an authenticity life coach or something like this. Once you connect with your authenticity again, you can support people who have gone through a similar thing. And this is a key. It's like whatever you have been through, you can become somebody who can support other people with this. So for example, somebody who's been suicidal can become the perfect person to support other people who are in that place. Somebody who's been through abuse can become somebody who's very good at supporting other people who are being abused and to support them to leave those situations and things like this. Someone like that could become a very good social worker or a content creator that raises awareness of this. Also, the skill doesn't have to just translate to helping somebody with the thing you experienced. It could be that you had a lot of emotions and this translated to you expressing them through art and you became an artist, or you are very attentive so you became a film critic. You know, like these are the kinds of ways of shining a different light on trauma that can support you to see what is your potential, that's a gift that's coming directly from your trauma. This is not creating something that isn't there. This is like looking into what's happened to me and what tendencies do I have inside of my trauma. Negative, probably they begin. And what, if I look at this more closely, how could I apply that in a constructive way in my own life and also in the lives of other people? So this brings us to the fourth part of the video, the last part of the video, your potential. So your unique trauma blueprint gives you something inside that nobody else has. And when that transforms into its potential imprint, your life imprint, maybe your life's purpose, your unique flavor of potential, your skills, your gifts, your mission, your values, things like this, when that translates into this, you have in your hands, at your fingertips, a rare, unique, unrepeatable, invaluable gift that you can share with the world. And the way to actualize this gift and begin to be able to use it for yourself and others is through experimentation. How did I get where I am today? I didn't suddenly go, okay, I was lonely and that made me talk to a camera, so let's do a YouTube video. It didn't really happen like this. It was like I had a lot of time to myself and I was feeling lonely, and then I began to explore, well, I don't know how to change that in this moment, and even though that sucks, I'm gonna go do some healing and go to some retreats. And then in the time alone I felt a bit better, so I began to make videos, and then I realized all of my other skills can be shared through videos. And so this was like an experiment that I discovered and tried and keep experimenting with, that's helped me to actualize my potential. So what I recommend is, like, when you discover a little thing that you think could be something, do an experiment about it. So, to run through everything in this video, to summarize, each one comes into this life and experiences trauma. That's not the only thing that goes on, but it's the focus of this video. So, and experiences trauma. Then each one has the possibility to experience some healing. Then each one has the possibility to begin to recognize the positive gifts and unique flavor that is being created, that is your potential, that is coming as a direct result of what you experienced, even though it was traumatic. And then you can begin to experiment, to share yourself, to see which things you like and which you don't, what to keep and what to not keep, and what to... The possibilities are endless, and this is your journey to discover who you are and how what happened to you has shaped you into the person that you are today, with the amazing things that you have to offer inside of yourself and with the world. What is that noise? The final part of this is that once you realize these gifts inside of you, begin to experiment and share them with yourself and share them with the world if you feel called to. And there is no wrong, no limit, and no end point to this. And even though it's possible to get to a place where you're experiencing using your gifts and the positive potential of your trauma, of course, this might have to go around in a cycle again. Many times in our lives, maybe in a certain moment, you need to go back to uncovering a trauma and emotional healing and re-understanding, or having a new understanding of a new part of you, or making a different understanding of a part of you that you already know. And then experimenting again and enjoying and sharing, and then maybe doing this again. So this is my perspective on understanding trauma and kind of why it happens, because it doesn't just happen to knock you down. It happens to create your direct, unique, individual potential that couldn't have been created any other way, and to shape you into the person who you are in your unique, invaluable essence, and to give you the possibility to share that, to embody that, and to fulfill that and keep discovering that. And yeah, so like this video if you did enjoy that and find it useful. Please comment down below and let me know what kind of things have happened to you and what kind of ways that you've healed those things, or that you want to heal those things or are still healing those things. What kind of positive skills or potential have you begun to spot within yourself? And have you begun to experiment with actualizing these gifts? And how do you actualize your gifts? So please share things like this in the comments. I really want to know how you're doing and how this resonates and what's your experience with this similar idea. So subscribe if you have not already, so that you can be notified when we post more soul freedom harmony content. It's all related to trauma recovery, emotional healing, self-discovery, self-empowerment, and there's many different media types that I share. ASMR, talking like this, meditations, music. The potential and the possibilities are endless. So thank you so much for being here and for taking this brave step into awareness and for allowing yourself to meet yourself where you're at and taking whichever part of this video feels right for you in the moment and going with it and seeing where it takes you. So if you would like to do my emotional healing session, I will link that in the comments. This is an exclusive session through my Patreon. It's a 36-minute session and it's really deep and has the possibility to support you to get right in there and undergo some profound transformation. So if you need that healing step, I've linked that in the comments below. If you would like to go to a retreat as a healing step, here is the video about these kinds of retreats that I'm talking about. And also I will link my Instagram in the comments so that you can DM me if you are interested in these kinds of retreats. I actually am only in collaboration with this kind of retreat at the moment. So at this moment, I cannot guide you towards any other kind of retreat. But of course, if you feel called to a different kind of retreat, go ahead and explore that for yourself as well. So I think that just about covers everything that I can possibly cover today. If there's anything else, probably it's going to just turn into another video. So thank you so much for being here. If this was your first time watching my video, welcome. I'm so glad that we've crossed paths. And if you are an OG, then it's amazing to have you here as always and to be together. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care of yourself in the best way that you can, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now. Namaste. Woo! Impossible what? Impossible what? Yeah, this video was apparently impossible for me to make, according to my trauma. And thank you, trauma, for that information and for those feelings that have become this positive potential of forward momentum in the direction of what I want.